gentlemen. I get two accents today. I'm very excited. We have I know, don't let it out yet. Andrew, hello, how are you?
I'm very good. How are you this week?
I am very well. I'm well and excited about today's guest, friend of yours, longtime friend of the show.
Indeed.
Some exciting news from Gordon Glenister, CEO of Membership World. Drum roll. Do we have a drum roll sound effect yet?
No, no, and I think you need to stop. You need to stop asking me that because I'm never doing it. So just stop asking me.
Why?
I'm not doing it. I
Uh,
just because I have to
fine.
spend hours editing it. That's why.
Fine. All right, well then let's just cut to the chase because there's some exciting events coming up in your neck of the woods, and we are excited to be a media partner with Gordon with Membership World for the upcoming roadshow. Tell us all about it, Gordon.
Yeah, so really excited about it actually. For those of you that don't know who we are, Membership World is a community that I set up during the pandemic actually, initially as a blog, but then got the opportunity to do a report really on the impact of COVID-19 or the pandemic to associations and trade bodies, membership organizations, and the like. We sent it to about 100 CEOs in printed form. And then on the back of that, I started to do some roundtable events. They really liked it and got some great feedback. And I guess what we're trying to do is to create a community of thought leading experts. And so often, as somebody that has run my own association for 11 years within the promotional products industry, I've felt that actually it can be quite a lonely job being a CEO. Nobody really understands the job of running an association, unlike another association CEO. Having us come together and being able to share ideas, whether it's about, membership engagement, whether it's about strategy, whether it's about revenue streams, it's also about teams and managing board expectations, all of
Yeah, make
those
sure we
things.
get the board part in there because that's what we need to that's what we need most of the
Yeah,
the
it's true.
Seems
commiseration. We
that
need
way.
that's the commiseration.
It's true. It's true. We have done so. A lot of the events are have been online only because the more senior people are, the more challenging it is to get
Yeah.
people to come to events. And of course, we are a global community, so we have individuals within our community that are based in the States, in Europe, and the like. We did do our first event in January, of which Andrew was there, which was last year, where we did an AI hackathon for
Oh,
associations.
great.
It was great fun, and we had some great feedback from it. And in a way, that has been the blueprint for what I wanted to do at these well, I call them road shows because they're in four different locations. So let's just talk about the premise as to why we did them, because a lot of membership events do tend to be in London, or in this where they're and that's fine because there are lots of organisations that are based in London. But if you're in Manchester, Birmingham, or indeed further afield in Scotland, you have to bear in mind that it's not just the conference ticket to consider. It's also the what can be quite expensive travel to get there. And if you're coming down from the likes of Manchester or Scotland, you've often got an additional hotel cost, flight cost, because you might decide to come quite late. So
Yeah.
therefore, you're going to have a more premium price. So I thought, well, why don't nobody is doing these what I would like to think as smaller but more intimate events around the country. So that's what we're doing, starting from the 29th of January, then the 3rd, which is in Birmingham, the 3rd of February in Manchester, and then the 5th in London, and then finally in Glasgow on the 10th. And the other thing that I wanted to change, Elisa, is not overwhelm the audience with content. Because I don't know about you, but I have been to so many conferences where you've got multiple streams, and sometimes those streams can be really good and they're competing with each other. I know that's often what an organizer will want to do, so you
It's a good
bring more
problem
people
sometimes.
there. It's a good problem to have. But also, I'd love to know how many people really put into practice
Mm.
what they have learned
Yeah.
during that day. Because
Yeah.
I think a lot of them take in some insights and then they come back and the show bag is in the corner. And what happens the next day? They're sat at their office
Oh,
with the day
yes.
job. Go on. So you want
I
to
was
say
going to say,
something, mate?
I think one of the things that we could never, at Association Transformation, that we could never be accused of is overloading people with content. Um, but certainly, I'm looking at the program for the road shows, and you've got some heavyweight speakers lined up. Which really impressed me because I think, again, often, when you see these sort of a lot of sector events. We get, we get sometimes people who aren't wholly relevant to the audience, or perhaps it's
Well, and they
skewed.
definitely don't know our sector. Most
Well, yeah,
keynotes definitely
exactly.
do
Yeah,
not know
don't
our
know our
sector.
sector, absolutely. But I think what impressed me about what I'm seeing about the program is, you've got real life experience on the platform. You've got a number
Mm.
of chief executives from membership organizations, seasoned, experienced execs, but also you've got some of the newbies as well, which I was pleased to see. And what were the what I've heard what you're saying about not overwhelming people with content, but you've also got to have targeted content. I mean, you can't just
Yeah,
randomly put a program there and go, "Hey, this is some nice stuff." How come
cool.
along and see it? What was the drivers? What was your thinking behind when you put that program together? And those speakers, what is it that you're thinking? What's the
So,
value there?
so the speakers are largely going to be focused around the engagement panel, and the idea is that we use that as our real deep dive into what is a subject that comes up countless times. It's always going to be there, which is about how do we engage our members. But the spin I wanted to put on this was in a noisy world where actually how when the attention span of all of us is getting less and less and less, how on earth do we stand out? How do we get more people to come to events, to read our newsletter, to refer us to other people, to participate in voluntary activities? It's becoming harder and harder and harder. And with the economic landscape and all the other issues and challenges that we've got, it's becoming even harder. So the idea is that we used what I call the challenge panel largely for our speakers to talk about that. But the same agenda, Andrew, is across all four locations. And
Right.
the idea behind this is that we're not creating individual agendas. We are creating a similar format. So that doesn't mean to say, oh, you're going to come to all four locations. You are going to, it's designed for you within, I don't know, an hour, hour and a half of Manchester or an hour and a half of Birmingham, and so on, so that it becomes, and we've also looked at the price point. I find conference tickets, if I'm really honest, quite expensive. And I'm not really sure that they deliver everything that the delegate wants. So I thought to myself, right, well, how can I change this that actually satisfies both suppliers and sponsors, but also delegates? So we created £150 non-member ticket, but then we dropped it to just £60 for for what we call our sponsored ticket. And that is basically somebody that is going to come to the event, but just agree to meet for four of our partners. We actually call them experts. We've completely positioned suppliers as experts. And if you see any of the social media graphics, you'll see that we've actually attributed three levels of expertise to each supplier. And the reason we want to do that is because we don't want it to make it look like it's an expo or an exhibition. And I've been to loads. Guess what happens? They spend a
Mm-hmm.
lot of money. They've got tables with top-up banners. They're outside. They're either on their laptops or they're not connected with us. So when we run our roundtable events, our suppliers will host them. So therefore, they're in a far better place to be able to build more personal relationships. But the real nuggets, I feel, which is different to anything else that I've seen, with the exception of ASE, I think in America, where we're doing effectively a one-to-one meeting. So, and that's for 2 hours in the afternoon. So this is not about necessarily supplier selling to association. This is about um, let's try and help you with your problem. So we've got
Yeah.
two people focusing on them
Yeah.
rather than, oh, this is our new platform. Are you interested in? No, no, we're trying to position it as you've heard some great stuff in the morning,
Yeah.
and now in the afternoon,
Yeah.
eight people are going to try and give you some insights about how they think they can help them in some
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Well, so much of this is new. You're conceptualizing a different kind of experience. I have some clarifying questions.
Okay.
Membership world, and then these conferences, do you have to be a CEO to be a member and to
Oh no,
attend?
not at all. Not at all. No,
Okay.
as long as
Okay.
you are in a membership facing role. So
Okay.
I'm actually quite happy to it to be membership managers even. We're aiming for C-suite, but at the
Yeah.
end of the day, we want people that are involved in the membership experience.
Yeah.
And they could even be heads of education, to be honest.
You know,
The whole concept of this, Elisa, is to have these discussions on a regional and local level, so
sure,
that
sure.
that's our point of difference, I guess, really.
Well, and I think about, the audience, and they're trying to host conferences for their members, and some of the
Correct.
pieces here that you've talked about that we all struggle with. You mentioned in the morning you're going to get some great information, but you also noted that we all have the notepads of ideas and the bag from the conference. How do you make that material in the morning tangible and actionable? How does this become different? How is this content something that someone's going to do something with?
And it's a really good point. So we've got two roundtable sessions as well. So those will be carefully moderated, and we'll have a number of insights. With those insights, we will record all of that. So it won't be just a scribble in a notepad. It will be shared only with the delegates afterwards. So we'll actually want to use the whole event to create content afterwards. So this
So you're
isn't just
sharing
about
that back, those notes, that
sharing.
aggregate
Absolutely.
raw
Absolutely.
material that comes from all the discussions someone
Correct.
will capture, whether they were
E-
in that
e-
round table or not.
Absolutely.
That's
And
great.
and we like to do that within obviously all the four locations. So bearing in mind, so
Wow, that's a lot.
if you were at and yes, the subject questions will be the same in all four locations, but who knows what answers we'll get. So we're able to really collaborate all of that together. We are also going to film some content as well. We want to actually provide an opportunity for both suppliers and speakers to have their own content. So often when you go to events and exhibitions, conferences, you're so busy in the moment. There's nobody thinking about have I got any shots of I need to get some pictures of me. Now, okay, it won't be in front of a big stage in the same way, but I think sometimes that those types of pictures where they're in front of their peers or on a panel are super useful. We're also going to give them the opportunity to do any sort of video interviews that they might like to share. So, in that 2 hour session in the afternoon, um, you know, we've asked people to have four or more meetings. If for any reason they don't want to use the rest of that time, then we can do an interview with them that they can do on a pod. So it's a full service event
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
which is about helping them be more expert in the role that they do.
Well, and
Sorry.
that's the other side of
Oops.
this that so many of us struggle with, and that's the relationship with suppliers and sponsors and partners. How to give them something valuable. Just like we want our members to have value, we also need that side of the ledger to
Mhm.
show up and participate and financially endorse these events. If I heard you correctly, you said that I, as a registrant, I can get a discounted ticket to attend if I commit to a scheduled number of meetups with partners. So I'm
Cool.
setting a little mini speed dating sit
Exactly.
down with
Exactly.
the partners, and I can
Sh-
get almost
yeah.
half off.
It's cheaper for me to
Without,
go and meet people than to go and not meet people.
yeah,
Right, right,
exactly.
right.
So without um, competition of another session going on. So
Yeah.
at the moment, you potentially could go to a conference and you could go and meet somebody, one of the exhibitors, and go and have a chat with them. Well, first of all, you're not going to have a seat in front of them because it's going to be standing up. So what we've done
Okay.
is we'll create almost like a proper agenda for them, and we will also provide details for the suppliers of all of the delegates in advance of that.
Uh-huh.
So they'll have knowledge of who they're meeting and when. So that is an important part of it. So it allows them an opportunity to plan. And I've been a meet the buyer for many years within the event sector, and I have to say, sometimes I'll have put down various meetings just because I've got to fulfill the minimum requirement. But I have to say, I'm often blown away by that sometimes because I'm thinking, oh, this has turned out to be way more productive and it's given me a real insight into a destination that I'd never even thought about.
Right. Well, and they're choosing. They're getting to choose who they want to meet with.
Correct,
But
correct, absolutely.
what happens? I mean, I love the model. I love the model of, actually it's cheaper for you to turn up and participate than to turn up and observe. I get that. I think
Exactly,
that's
exactly,
brilliant.
exactly,
But
exactly.
what happens if what's the scenario if attendees, rock up and don't engage?
Yeah, what if they don't keep
What
their
if they don't
appointments?
want to turn up and meet with people?
So that's when we bring torture into the equation.
Oh, yes. Well, maybe the first question is what's the accountability? Is the vendor scanning their name badge? Are they,
So,
how are
w
what's the
w
tracking
I mean,
process?
look, don't forget, we're not trying to get, these are smaller events, we're looking
Yeah,
for, 60 or so people
Yeah.
per per event. So we're actually going down this intimacy route. In fact,
yeah,
the other thing I was going to say is I was at an event like last year and, like 300 delegates coming to the event and I thought, oh, great, so many people. I would argue as a supplier, you will not see 300 people at the event. You'll be lucky if you even meet 10% of them, 30. And even then, they're
yeah,
all coming to you at lunchtime, coffee, or
Yeah.
afternoon break.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
And I think
So
They're
I think
passing by.
what we want to do is actually take away, you'll have got an opportunity to meet in the before the conference starts, coffee and stuff.
yeah.
You'd have an opportunity to meet them with the roundtable sessions twice, but also in this 2 hour slot in the afternoon, which is much more scheduled. So I would argue that the suppliers could meet almost everybody in the room because they are in the room and they're not further afield. So I guess, small is beautiful. That's what I'm trying to say here.
I
Love it.
think indeed. I think from what I do, well, there's much I like about the model. There's much I like about the model. I think what you're saying about intimacy, small scale, replicable. I think it resonates, and actually, as a case study in what you know association other networks in our sector can be using. I think it's a good case study. I think it's one that people should be looking to emulate. I think from my own sort of my own perspective now as a supplier to the sector, but but also as an association professional, I think I like how you're couching this in terms of meet experts. It's no secret,
Yeah.
I publish a lot about this, and I'm on record and through this podcast talking about how frustrated I am
Yeah.
as being perceived nothing more than by some of the networks as being perceived as nothing more than a cash cow, as
Absolutely.
as a
I,
as
I'm
a I was going to say, I'm just going to say, as an open wallet, here's my cash, take it, and then treat me. I'm going to be honest. Some of the networks treat me with disdain, and quite frankly, disrespect my professional expertise and refuse to acknowledge me as an association professional first, who happens to do a particular job in this sector. And so I like how you have gone down you've explicitly acknowledging that these are people who these are businesses who are grounded in the membership sector
They
and have
absolutely
knowledge and
are,
expertise
Andrew.
to share. And I think that's incredibly important.
Well, thank you for saying that because I think it's really, really important. When I set this up, I wanted to see suppliers as equals. In fact, just to roll on from that, we also run supplier-only events where there's not an association in sight.
Mm.
And
What? Wait,
what
wait,
we
what?
what we
Why,
do,
why do they come?
what I tell you why they come is because it's about helping them generate more business. And I talk to them about, marketing, about lead
Oh,
generation,
so this is
pitching.
coaching them on their
It's
businesses.
yeah, yeah, because
Okay.
I like to think, having run multiple associations, I've got a lot of intel. I'm a consultant myself,
Mm.
so in a way, I want to be able to, when I even review their pitch decks.
I think
Who
peer
who
support,
else
yeah,
who
yeah.
who else does that? Who else does that? Because if you go to an association and they say, "Well, you haven't won the business," they're not going to be able to say to you, "I'm sorry, somebody else won it. Can you give us some meaningful feedback?"
Yeah.
They're not going to do that. So I often say to the suppliers, "Look, treat me as a critical friend, right? I know what you're trying to do. I think like, in fact, even the way we've priced this." So I've said to the supplier community, I said, look, this is £3,000 and for all four events. And most of them are blown away by that because they think, well, I pay that for XYZ
Yeah.
community at just one single event. And I say, well, look, at the end of the day, if you do now the difference is if you only want to do two events, it's still the same price. And we're trying to get everybody on side so that it is like a on tour type of experience.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we build greater relationships with the people that are there. They feel more connected to what we're trying to do. And as part of our marketing strategy, we've created a huge amount of collateral for speakers, for partners, and we've asked them to do videos. I think most have or in the process of doing. Because actually, I won't lie, getting bums on seats to an event has never been harder. It really hasn't.
Yeah.
And it's tested us at times as well. So, for me, if you share your vision, your insight, and you support the suppliers, they're more likely to want to work with you because they have those contact bases as much as you do. And if they're sick, because we've given a few of them a few free tickets to get. So what a great way to develop their business to say, hello,
Yeah.
John. I know we've been talking for, look, would you like to come to this event as my guest?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there are some interesting experiments that you're conducting during this roadshow. I'm excited to hear how it goes afterwards. I'm also really excited to see the work product that comes from all the ideas generated from the four sessions, how they align, what the themes are, where there's some divergence. So definitely come back and let us know how this intimacy experiment works,
Mm.
how some of that new approaches to sponsorship work. If you're interested in learning more or attending, go to membershipworld.com/roadshow, and you can find out. These are right around the corner. I mean, we're talking about the end of January through the second week of February. So don't delay. There's a few tickets left. Gordon, thank you for pushing the envelope. Thank you for trying to do new events, trying to give us information that we'll really use in a different way. We so appreciate it. It's easy to complain about the conferences that don't work
Yeah.
and gripe about the tickets and the content and the 10 tracks all at once. I
Hmm.
so appreciate you approaching this in a different way. And I think there's a lot we can learn, not only for ourselves as association professionals, but in how we do events for our members. So thank you so much, Andrew. Thanks for joining us and bringing back Gordon, one of your lovely friends to the
Always a pleasure.
podcast.
Always a pleasure.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. And until next time, put your members and your mission first.